Hello again everyone, hope you're well. Welcome to today's race at the lovely Magny-Cours in France. This is a little relatively unknown track, but it is a fantastic one, except for today when it's a bit wet out. Thankfully the rain has already stopped before the race has begun, so the track is wet but is not going to dry up really, so we're on a full wet setup here. As you can see, this is a relatively small split. People are straying away from the rain, and as you're going to see, there's good reasoning for that. Anyway, we have a little bit of a bump there as someone forgets to turn into the right-hander.
Catch up to car number 12.
And I lodge a little bit of a complaint there as I was as far left as I could be there. But anyway, we're about to get underway. There's a little tricky chicane section that starts the race off, so you'll normally find we go into a single split file here. A single file rather.
We're going to need a point after this.
Get ready, mate, it's hammer time.
Oh, vodka.
And we are off.
Green, green, green.
You might recognise two of the voices there. There's Tony Dibden once more, and Jay Cullis, a TCR streamer who's dipping his toes into GT4s. Now, this is a very difficult track to drive in the rain, which is a shame because this is a fantastic car and track.
Here, I didn't buy
Right,
the window
the
wiper.
guy ahead of us is Jack, car number 12.
Not much good though, the wiper is. As you can see here, it's not really covering the part of the windscreen that you're looking through. Thankfully we can see just about, there's
Decent
just
start.
no
We can
grip
build
there,
something from here.
trying to turn at the hairpin. Makes it very difficult as you're going to go wide, so you've got to be very late on the power. See, I'm just taking it very cautiously
Jack
on
in
this
front
first
is
lap.
now 1.3 seconds.
Wet tyres do start cold, and they do take time to get up to temperature like a normal tyre. And you can see the rubbered in line there. I'm trying to cut back across it, get the power down, and then I've got to cross it once more. And the car has a little bit of a slip there, protesting against what I'm trying to do. So you're going to see here I'm trying to drive as much as possible off the rubbered line, but tricky sections like that I've just got to try and send it, turn in nice and early so that when I drift wide, and here I just completely go wide.
Cut the track. Keep it
Not
nice and
braking
tidy.
enough into that section as you've really got to slow the car down. So we find ourselves in a nice little gap here, which gives me good time to sort myself out and get into the rhythm here. Trying to stay off the line except for sections like this where you've just got to try and nurse the car through it. It's a fun little last chicane there at Magny. You can really bounce the car over it. Now you can see here I'm having to take the rubbered line and use the downforce of the LMP3 to carry me through it. And just try and keep my speed through. And again here, starting off the rubbered line, then crossing it and having that little moment, but using the downforce of the LMP. I did find some real struggle.
Ahead is now 3.1.
Jack goes a little wide ahead. You really just have to slow yourself down, but yeah, there's a real struggle in this car with the rubbered in line. There's a big difference between driving on that and off it with your braking and acceleration. As you're going to see here, trying to slow down on it, and the car's just wobbling everywhere, so I've got to really check up and be very cautious. And again here, a little bit of a moment, but we're able to catch it. No harm, and not even a 1x or a 2x, sorry, for a loss of control. So I've just got to keep pushing here. You can see car 21, Rodriguez, is starting to catch us. So we did better than him on that last lap, but it looks like on this one my moment is going to be my undoing. There we go, getting slowed up much nicer. And on the power, thankfully this car has traction control system, so getting on the power in those sort of low speed chicane hairpins is a lot easier. but there's no ABS, so you have to be really cautious under braking here. There we go, much
P5
better through
is
that
reeling
last
you in.
chicane.
Gap's now 1.9. That lap was a 151.70.
Finally get my time on the board. You can see in the top left there, Fernando gets a 1.5 second faster time than us. He's really starting to catch up. He's less than 2 seconds behind us now. I'm looking for that 100 board on the left, braking a little bit before it. The mistake I'm making on these early laps is that you should try to go a bit further left there onto the rubbered line to open up the corner. It is slippy, but helps that little bit there. I was probably being a little too cautious through there, braking early rather than you can brake a bit later. And then here, this is the right line now. Cutting inside, then coming across, then coming back across the rubber line. You can sort of use it on the exit there to get the power down. And here you've just got to send it left over that board, and I don't really do it that time, so that's why we go wide. And you can see now Rodriguez has closed up right behind us there. Feeling our mirrors, he goes in a little deep himself, but thankfully there's no contact. We've got him to worry about now. I just need to keep my head down and keep putting these laps through.
New fastest lap for Loy, 147.70.
Very difficult there. My grievance with this rain system that iRacing's put in is that even at low speed, the rubbered in line is just so slippery.
Your last lap time was a 150.
Doesn't seem to make sense considering that
that's your quickest today.
at those lower speeds the water is not going to be causing as much of a lift on the tyres. So you'd at least expect they're going to find that little bit more traction. I could be wrong, but that's just my own feeling on it. We managed to get a good exit there, so we've gapped Rodriguez a little bit. I'm not sure why it's giving me the yellow flag indicator there. And again, I think it's just...
Tony, but on the first GT4.
Jay was having a little chat with Tony on the stream.
When you're meeting.
So
it's okay, the first few LMP3s know what they're doing, it's the rest of us you need to be careful of, i.e. me.
I'd include myself in that group. Very difficult doing class racing around here. I think in a lot of the track, the GT4s
I just want to clarify, I have no idea what I'm doing.
are just as fast as we are.
P4.
There's only a few sections where the lightweight and high power on the LMP lets you get out of a corner faster than the GT4s. Following behind us again, Rodriguez is really closed up. He's having a look around the outside. I'm just going to park it on the apex as best I can and then get on the power as quick as possible. Saying that's my focus, is apexes and exits, as Jim would say.
That's a new fastest lap for Loy, 147.45.
I just got to hope that the track might dry up a little bit here. I'm rather quick in the fixed series, as I really enjoy this car combination. This is such an exceptional track in the dry, but in the wet it's so difficult.
Oh, he's learning that catching is one thing and overtaking is another.
Yeah, I was picking up on Rodriguez constantly flashing me in the mirrors there. There's just no need for that sort of thing in my mind. There we go, looking for that 100 ball, braking at about the 150. And here, like you can see, I open it up a tiny little bit onto that rubbered line though. I get on the power a bit too soon, which sends us wide. Looks like Rodriguez didn't do too well either in that hairpin. Brake about halfway down the curve and then just try and turn as much as possible without hitting that orange curve. And brake late here. Now, I was trying this line which I saw in VRS, but I just carry too much speed and there's
Left,
no
clear
grip
left.
around the outside there, so
Left side, clear left.
both Rodriguez and Tony make it past us.
Come on, don't let him get away.
It's unfortunate, but I'm hoping to make it back.
You owe me a fiver, don't you?
And yeah, I was just having a little jib there saying I'd lost a 5 around the outside there.
You begging for subscriptions again?
I'm trying to do a little bit of banter in these races now. Look ahead, and looks like there's been a bit of an incident there between Rodriguez and Tony.
Fastest lap
It was
for
only
Lloyd,
first thing, wait, take
147,
off the way that he
143.
wanted.
To me, it was looking very much like Rodriguez was trying to turn into Tony
Hey,
there.
Fernando, what you doing?
The next car is
And
Rodriguez.
Tony's definitely
car
not
number
happy either.
21.
A bit late missing that first curve there. You've really got to turn in for it
P5.
in order to get a good exit out of that chicane.
That's fine.
And here, ooh, we're a bit too much on the rubbered line there. Trying to stay left of it.
You're the first ever GTP driver to ever say thank you to me in history.
This section here is tricky. You can see just how late and how patient I've got to be on the power there.
Hear it.
Because I'm on the rubbered line, but the aero force of the LMP3 does let you slowly put more power down as it just keeps you on the straight.
Yeah, it did for me and all, really.
Yeah, just remarking with Tony there that that did look like a murder to me,
The
but
gap to
we'll have a look
Rodriguez.
at the
Ahead
replay
is
afterwards
increasing.
to
It's
see
now
how that
1.4
came
seconds.
to be.
20 minutes remaining, you've got 20 minutes left.
Very cautious there early, and again I do take this line and I just don't slow down enough. Thankfully the track limits are very gracious to me. I'm not giving a 1x. It was interesting seeing the different lines that people were taking through here. Like I say, that one was one I'd learnt through VRS, looking through their little training schedule data pack, and seeing that their driver
That's a new
was
fastest
taking
lap
that
for
outside
Lloyd,
line and just trying to carry the speed,
147.128.
but I was finding that a bit too difficult here. I should have been trying that inside line from the rubbered line and just cutting across and then coming back across to put the power down. So that's worth reviewing these sort of races like I do here when I'm broadcasting over it.
Good lap. That's your quickest so far.
And hopefully I'm not too boring for everyone that's watching. You can see poor Jay ahead of us in that Aston GT4 going wide. He was suffering a bit himself, out of his comfort zone of the TCRs and their lovely front wheel drive. Not really driven them myself, but I have tested them in the offline. And there's a lot of fun of just being able to put your foot down to correct any sort of mistake. And again, no grip there, but I managed to just be patient and get the power down. Looks like we're clawing a little bit of time back to Rodriguez here. I'm being a bit too cautious through there. You can see he opens up the gap between us. And this is kind of the optimal line I was trying to aim for, where you cut
Gap
back.
to Rodriguez. Ahead is now 1.8.
And it sort of works. You can see that we've only
And no
lost a
grip on the
little bit of
inside.
time. And again through
I
here,
know, you're the only person I've left me on the inside.
it's not turning in far enough on that left side, which is
Coming
what
up on a slower
makes
class
us
car.
drift out right.
It's a
And
smart move, I like
when
it.
you hit that painted surface, there's no grip there,
Content's content.
which is why I've got to come off the power just to try and keep the car from sliding. This section wasn't too bad just because you were slow enough there, and as long as you meet the curb and get on the power here, hitting that first curb to open up the second one, and just staying on the power through it, which helps keep the car be
Your lap
planted.
times are improving. This is exactly what we need.
Coming up to the first GT4s, or sorry, no, another bat marker in this case. I'm going to try and go around the outside here, but as you're going to see, that rubbered line, we meet
Car
it
right.
and we come off it.
Still
onto the
right
painted
side's clear.
surface.
Stewards have warned us about track limits.
Just
Keep
no
car
grip
right.
at all from that outside, so it doesn't quite work.
Clear right.
Unfortunately, I'm probably going to make that mistake a few more times before learning that really you need to stay to that inside line and just hug it, as that's the best way to overtake the GT4s around there, using that aero downforce. And unfortunately we found ourselves into a big gap, so we're going to skip ahead just to save some of your sanity and mine. So here we are a lap later, and as you look to the right ahead, poor old Jack, who was a couple of positions ahead of us, has gone off, unfortunately. And you're going to see at the end of the race what exactly happened to him.
I'm sorry about that.
And in the meantime, we've got Tony, who's on a big recovery drive, catching up to us.
Was that the car, Jack or Fernando?
You can see he's hunting after Rodriguez after what happened
I took
earlier.
too much curve
Clear
that time.
left.
I'm pissed off after being fucking pushed off at that point.
So we're going to see how that plays out for him over the course of this race, because he is going to get past us. Tony's a very good consistent driver,
P4, keep it
and
coming,
whilst
man. This
I
is
can have a
great.
good lap every so often, I tend to have the odd incident or little mistake which costs me, and in these conditions it's very easily done.
The car in front
But
is
we're still
Rodriguez,
pushing on for
car
now.
number 21.
We're still holding on to a P4 overall, so this will be good for our championship points, because I am also in contention with Tony, Jack and a few others for the Division 2 of the LMP Freeze in the Falcon Tyre Series, so I'd like to at least finish ahead of him. So I'm definitely giving it all
Slower
as
class
I'm
car ahead.
braking in here, and we get stopped nice and easily. Good rotation and on the power. A little rumble with the traction control system there kicking in to try and keep us on the straight. This BMW ahead is going to be a bit of an awkward one. I'm going to aim to try and set up a good exit here. Unfortunately, I'm using the VRS technique, which just slows me a little bit.
The gap to Tony behind is
Go
now
for a cutback.
1.1 seconds.
See him having that little wobble, which is why I hesitate on the throttle for a second there, but we get past safely, which is the main thing. Now, you'll notice as well, the track is actually starting to dry up. You can see that dry line developing there, so I'm really now just trying to stay on that, but as you can see there, in these slow sections like that, the tyre clearance is just not really happening, so there's still those big puddles. You still have to be cautious. And again, interestingly, you can see there that GT4 was on the left of the rubber patch, and he was actually doing very well for himself, because the right hasn't really dried up yet. But for now, I'm staying to that inside off the dry
Coming up on a
line.
slower car.
And again here, it's actually helping in on the rubber section, so I'm able to carry a bit more speed. And now I can see this Mercedes have a bit of a wobble in front of us, so I'm erring on caution. But again, the problem like last time is I'm on that rubber
You're right,
patch,
clear right.
so I just can't get the power down, which costs us a lot of time to Tony behind us. Now, I know Tony, I've raced with him a good few times now, so I know he's always a very fair driver. He's not going to make silly moves, because
Clear
to him
left.
as well, he doesn't want to lose his race, but unfortunately he's also not prone to mistakes. As you see, he goes very deep under braking down that rubbered line.
No, that was me trying to break on the racing line to not be up your bum and then running out of talent.
Yeah, I was a little concerned there that I thought I braked a bit early, at least to him, which is what spooked him and sent him wide, but you can just see there that is the difference between on and off the racing line with the LMP. But we're both still going, that's the main thing. And the track is evolving more and more each time. I still go wide there, and off the track on that painted patch you have no grip whatsoever. That kind of
10 minutes to
throws
go.
that
That's
entire
10 minutes
section
left.
off for me. I gather it up as best as I can.
Coming up on a slower class car.
You can see Tony as well is using that dry line that's developed on the outside, and it's working quite well for him there.
The gap to Tony behind is now 0.5.
Got to be careful though, coming out of that chicane. That white painted line there just before the curb is very vicious if you put even
You've
a
got
wheel
half
on
your
it.
fuel left.
I see the Porsche. I'm going to aim to come on the inside for him.
Car left.
A bit of a wobble as I'm on the
Clear
rubbered
left.
line. It delays me getting the power down, but it works for us in the end. Tony follows us through. He's right behind me here. And I'm expecting that he's probably going to try and stay off the rubbered in line. So yep, he brakes nice and early. I'll just take my normal braking point. I don't really open up the corner as I should have done there. So we are a little bit slow, and that means we're going to catch this Porsche at a very awkward time. Now, even in the dry, you cannot really overtake a GT4 through there, and then here in the wet, I just go too
Clear
wide
right.
with the understeer, so I
Steady
don't get a
inside,
good
mate.
exit. And then I'm too fast into there, so go wide again and touch that painted white line. Tony's not able to really get the power down either, or he's just playing it safe, so he's still behind us, but now he's got a good drive.
Car right.
He's going to look to the inside, so I'm going to
Clear
brake
right.
a little later here and be brave. Try and carry the speed, but again I go
Car
wide
left,
onto
clear
this
left.
painted patch. Tony's able to dive
Slower
down
cars
our
ahead.
inside,
These guys are scrapping for position.
taking the
They might not see
outside
you.
and the
Come on,
position
man,
off
defend
us.
harder.
I'm lamenting here that yeah, he can have the championship if I never have to drive in the wet. I'm not really enjoying this. It is a real challenge trying to wrestle this car through here. Which is a shame because I still thoroughly enjoy driving around the circuit.
P5.
Tony does well there. He gets past the Mercedes through this section where I really can't do anything, so I'm going to try
The
and
next
set up
left
to take
side.
the inside.
Clear left.
Like the Mercedes does well, gives us the space.
The gap in front is now 1.3
But I
seconds.
spend so much time on that rubber line, I really struggle to get the power down. Tony's now a second ahead of us. Gonna have to hope I can try and claw some of that back here. And he goes deep, braking late there, so we need to set up a good exit. We've clawed a few tenths back. Thankfully the spray's not too bad in these conditions, so I can still sort of see my usual braking part, so my braking markers. Starting to get better with this corner. See, even though the track has dried up a little bit, it's still very difficult and slippy getting the power down. Grumble the traction control telling me that I'm pushing a little bit too much with my throttle there.
New fastest lap for
Dear,
Lloyd,
I
146.60.
take a little bit too much of that inside curb. And we just tapped the barrier there. Hopefully I've not taken too much damage, but that's really reset our progress.
The car in front of us is Jack, car number 12.
And unfortunately that's lost us 2 positions as Jack was not far behind me and Tony there. We're down to P6. I'm going to try and gather everything back up now. Trying that more dried in line, but I found it was still very difficult to turn in there. There was still no grip even at those low
Sixth
speeds
place.
to meet the apex curb. Now once more I've got to get past this Mercedes and the Porsche. I'm just going to take my time here, although I
Right
do
side.
try to go around the outside, but you can
Right
see
side's clear.
with the rubber and that
right.
painted patch there's just no grip at all, so
Right
it
side's
doesn't
clear.
work for me. And unfortunately that's pretty much how we found ourselves for the rest of the race on this little recovery drive. So we will skip ahead to the end. And if you
Yellow
look
flag.
ahead, Rodriguez has just had a bit of a moment there, so we hadn't had that mistake ourselves of going up.
Car in
We might
front
have
is
stood a chance of
Rodriguez,
getting back
car
at
number
him.
21.
But we can also see that Tony and Jack both made it past him, so we'll have a look at what happened there.
P6, that's the end
Still,
of the race.
a
We'll get him next
P6
time.
finish is good for our championship points, so I can be happy with that. And let's have a look at what happened. So starting, this was the first battle between Tony and Rodriguez. You can see Tony opens up the corner to get a good exit on the switchback. But Rodriguez just comes back at him on the right and with 2 taps pushes him into the wall. A few laps later, this was Jack. You're going to see here he takes too much of that entry curb and the orange sausage, and that just completely unsettles the car and sends him wide. And you can see I make the same mistake a few laps later, taking too much of that entry curb. I'm able to straighten the car out a little bit though, which means I slide longer and just about touch the barrier. I only get a little bit of damage on the front right, but it's nothing too severe, thankfully. Now, Tony did eventually catch up to Rodriguez, and you're going to see this is almost an exact same copy of what happened. Tony gets a good switchback, and Rodriguez cuts across. This time, Tony comes off better, with Rodriguez going off towards the left. And then on the final lap, this is the moment Rodriguez had. He brakes a little too hard on that rubbered in patch, and it just completely sends him wide across the grass. And so that is everything from today's race. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, so please leave a like and subscribe, as that really helps me know that this sort of content is appreciated, and I'll see you next time.